podcast, Picks and Perspective with Chrys Johnson. Palpable paradox.
Hi, Kevin. Good to see you,
Hey,
man.
what's up? Good to see you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute. You just got back from tour recently, yeah?
Yeah, I think it's been, I was on tour like 2 weeks ago, or even just a week ago. Yeah, we were like out there for almost 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How'd that go? Everything going well with the Tommy Vext camp? And you guys are signed now, I think, right?
So there's a lot of things in progress right now. So technically, we're not signed now because like the whole plan was like, it's now like kind of differently. So Tommy's going to make a label with a few other major CEOs and like another label owner. So it will be like a construct of like a few hats, and we're doing basically our own label that is signing people who are probably then less affected by cancel culture, you know.
I see. So it's going to be a ground up situation. That's kind of interesting. There'll be more in control of like how things go to market, right?
Yeah. So we will have like someone involved in the team who has the infrastructure of like a major label. So we have the infrastructure already there. We have the people in there who bring the money, and new band name, everything will like happen probably in the next. I hope I'll add like some months, so I hope we get it done in like 5-6 months.
Okay. Cool, man. That's exciting. It seems like there's been a good response to you guys out there touring and playing the music. You guys have some new music, right? Working on an album and everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a 2-step thing that is planned right now. So Tommy is still going to release first a cover album that is like promised since forever. So it was actually already in production with Bad Wolves back then. So even like I think he worked on that part like since the pandemic started, and he's going to release it as soon as like the legal papers are done. You know, there was like the issue with the lawsuit and stuff that he couldn't release anything now, and it's still in the final process that the papers are done, and then afterwards, I think we hopefully can release just the cover album this year, which is just basically the covers that we have, were like snippets out there on social media of Tommy's thing. And then with next year, like with under the new label and everything, that we have the full album with the new songs that is basically ready. We have all that stuff ready together.
Cool. So is that already basically recorded then, ready to go?
I mean, everything is recorded. Some songs are like mastered, other ones not. So it's like to put it on the album, there will be definitely like another process to make them all kind of sound similar because they're like written with like different producers and stuff. So it still has to go in the process to make it like really sleek for the album. But we have the songs, and the songs sound great already.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. So the structure's there. Just gonna refine it, get it mixed and edited, and probably, retrack a thing here or there and be done. Yeah.
Yep.
That's great. And you're out. Go ahead.
Name. I think your name is like already like teased out there, so we will be like, which makes sense. From Bad Wolves, it goes to Lone Wolf. This will be the.
Oh, Lone Wolf is the name.
Yeah, this is basically what it's going to be.
Okay. That's cool, man. I'm that. Why not, man? That like just works right into the whole scenario, the whole like, because he's out there doing the thing and he's had to reassemble a new crew. So that makes good sense to me too.
Yeah, I'm very happy with that choice. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So and you're able to take the Kiesel. A couple Kiesels out with you on this last run, and that was really cool seeing a couple of the photos come back. You look really good with that multi-scale 4-string, man. You enjoying it?
It feels really good. Like from all the basses, I have definitely like it plays the best so far. Yeah.
I'm curious, when did you start being a musician? Because I saw some of those old photos of you as a kid holding a microphone, and I thought, oh, did he do some vocals or?
The funny thing is like my band like literally says always like actually no one can really sing except Tommy and also like me a little. So like we just sometimes like jam around like just singing stuff, and I think I can sing decently, but I was never a singer. So whatever I did and whatever bands I played, I never tried to sing. I think I decently can hit notes, and I think I'll probably try to push maybe more forward to make maybe backing vocals and stuff with like Tommy, and let's see where this might go. But yeah, but I was never actively a singer, so it's always like in first place the guitarist actually. Yeah.
Oh, and how old were you when you started playing guitar?
13, I think 13 was my age when I started to play guitar. Very classic, like learning first in school, with school bands and a school teacher, and then later some private lessons, like I think for 1 year, and then I started to do the journey by myself, like most of us, I think I'm doing, you know.
What do you remember? What band was there? A band or an artist or a guitarist or somebody that inspired you? That's oh, I got to do that.
I think I was 11 when I started just to find like rock music is like a thing that I love. I think there's like just the kind of people when you're like young and you hear guitar tones, and this is like so magical and you're so drawn to it. So I think it started from when like all of a sudden there was like Blink 182 and The Offspring, all those people were in the charts, and like you hear those guitar tones and you're like super stoked to kind of pick up a guitar and create something like that. So growing up, I feel like whatever just new band that I found had like new icons. So I started like very commercial with like all the punky poppy things that were out there, and was very interested to learn these simple songs. And then you're like, as a kid, on the way to like find the harder music, and went into more like the Nirvana stuff that was very easy to adapt and to learn, I feel. Then very soon to Metallica, which was like for me like a band that was sticking to a very, very long time, because I feel like this band just had the heaviness, but also like it was commercially like very attractive, very easy to hear and like get into it because it's so catchy. Also, the riffing and stuff was very easy to adapt and learn for someone who just started to play guitar. And I was sticking to those bands a very, very, very long time until I was like at the end of my teens, where I started to go more into like melodic death metal, black metal, like all this European shit that we're listening to, And of course, with every band I was listening to had like different icons. But I remember back then, I think I was 13 when I seen first time, I think Ozzy live in like a video. And when I've seen Zach Wild, this was like for me like a different thing, because he was so different in his aura, like on stage, just so iconic. I was like, wow, this guy is a different animal, And
larger than life. I remember seeing the No More Tears videos back with and seeing Zach just like with the blonde hair, like almost couldn't see his face at times, and just the cool Les Paul. And yeah, I remember just going, oh, that's got to be the coolest guy ever. Like, cause that's the epitome of like ass kicking rock star guy,
You don't have many artists out there where it's like actually the guitarist who feels the presence of the stage, It's like, if you see Ozzy live, I mean, it's literally like Zach takes over the stage, in my opinion.
Agreed. I think that's kind of been, I mean, that's been one of the sweet things about being an Aussie fan through the years. If you're an Aussie fan, you're like, oh, dude, like he's curated he's picked these amazing guitar players through the years, right? And I mean, Jakey Lee and Randy Rhoads and Zach. That was kind of interesting about Gus G was like, he's a phenomenal player, but like at the end of the day, he didn't have the same type of like presence, like he had all the technical chops, but like, I don't know. I just don't, it's hard to like think of anybody replacing or following Zach.
I mean, to be honest, like Gus G sounded fucking great. I think he was like the closest to really make it sound like all the albums, I think like he was really positioned to try hard to sound like how he should be, but didn't put much of like an own kind of identity into it. I think it would be better for him if he would have just like fuck it, I do my own shit. I mean, Zach Wild is like so individual in case like his pinch harmonics, and like he puts like a shitload of chorus on his tone like all the time. So he has like a very specific tone, and everything puts his identity on whatever he does. And I feel Gus G was like just very flat. I mean, he did his job great, but I think he missed like the part of like building his own brand out there.
And it could have very well been the request that was made too, and I
get it.
Because I think about like, well, if I was Gus G and I was that badass, like, would you dare come in like swinging? or would you just try to like make it sound like it's supposed to sound? Like
yeah, it's like a hard thing.
Either way.
But this is what it makes it different, because Zach just doesn't give a fuck. He just plays the way he wants to play, wants to sound the way he wants to sound.
Yeah.
I think Ozzy, there was like a time I remember like where Ozzy like publicly, I think also when they parted ways, but he complained that Ozzy Osbourne starts more to sound like Black Label Society. And, I think they had that sometimes where like what weren't like a good match, but at the end, like I think Ozzy and Zach is just like this dude that people want to see.
Yeah, I could see that there was things going on because of Zach being in the band that was drawing Ozzy's music to sound more like Black Label, and then Zach has always had an Ozzy fetish, so a ton of what he does in his vocal range of stuff sounds like, it goes up into the thing where he's still Zach, but you can tell it's like, I'm also kind of Ozzy. I played for Ozzy, and he's the man. He's my guy. So
I mean, he also has Zach Sabbath running, He's also touring with that.
Yeah. That's what's like, and that's kind of proof that he's the man, also because he can also sing a lot of that stuff and play it, just in his own way. But in those early years, like, so you were a guitarist first around 13. Do you remember? I'm curious what you remember about your guitar picks, or who influenced you with guitar picks at that time. What do you remember anything about the first few that you got, and then how did that evolve? Did it evolve, especially when you changed to playing bass? Like, and what are you playing now? Kind of like, can you catch us up?
With the picks, interesting question. I think back then when I started, like it's pretty simple. You go like in a local guitar store, like back then, like online stores and stuff, and all the information wasn't really out there. So you just go there, look at those things, and you just pick a few ones. I think I had always like the Dunlops, more like way thinner ones when I started, way thinner to kind of play, because I feel like when it just starts, like very hard to be precise with the strings, and like it's easier to go kind of smooth through it, It's hard to explain. And I think the older I got, I definitely went on guitar specifically to smaller picks and thicker picks. So I think like the Jazz 3 were like at the end, and from them up to the ones where I feel like I had the highest amount of precision and control on guitar. And on bass, when I started to pick up bass, I had also like to go on my own journey to figure out what really works for me there. And I definitely stick since forever to like the very big triangle Dunlops. And I try different kind of thickness, but it's like I usually feel most comfortable like the 1 millimeters and the 1.14 millimeters. I tried something that's like up to 1.4 or something. It's like super thick, and it's like it's nice, but also like I figured out when I play live, it literally my muscles and my thumb get sore because you have to chunk so much into it. I really like to chunk the strings, like really put like effort into it. But if it's like super hard, it really kind of bounces back on the fingers, and you start to getting exhausted, kind of. Especially if you do like a lot of downstroking and like chunk it like for a while. At some point, your thumb is just super tired. So I think right now I'm sticking with the 1 millimeter set, like a little bit bounce back, but they're still super tight to chunk in,
And it's still the Tortex triangle?
Yeah, it's like the big Tortex triangle. The white, I think they're usually right now they're white. I think they're all white.
Okay. Yeah, that's a fair that's a fairly common, actually, seeming like bass pick, and I think it's because it's a bigger space. It doesn't matter which corner you grab, it's all the same. And if you can get something in that 1.0 range, it has a tiny bit of flex. It's not super rigid, but rigid enough to like use on those big strings, I'd imagine.
Yeah, we have those like 160 strings. Yeah,
bro, those are so huge.
Yeah.
So what's that?
It's like really, like they feel really great right now on the keys, like with extended scale and everything. It has like some really nice tension. Yeah.
That's awesome. What's the tuning again for you on that 160 down?
It's a G. It's a G. Yeah.
A G. Oh man, yeah, that's low, especially for a 4-string.
Yeah, I mean, but it does work very well right now. I also tried the 175 from Rotor Sound. But they're like, the weird thing is they're like the tapered part of the end is so long that it loses actually the tension of the 175. So it's like weird because the tapered part goes almost like into the part where you're like picking, and then you don't have the tension of the 175. So it's like kind of.
And the taper is down at the bridge, right? So it kind you lose that girth going over the bridge.
Yeah, exactly. And I also like the new Dunlops and the 160, not the Dunlops, 160, the Darius that I'm using, they have the tapered part too, but it's a very short tapered part to just make it possible to go through the tuners, you know. But the Rotor sounds have like very fucking long, that it's really almost in the part where you have your fingers or your picks, and then you lose the actual tension of that string. So it's like, what's the point?
And that's, I have to say that's a really difficult thing on the manufacturer's part, because when I worked at Dunlop, we were trying to accommodate a bunch of different people's scale lengths, like just in strings in general, both guitar and bass. And we get into these super low tunings and the multi-scale instruments. We have to, there's all these things. They probably made those strings for somebody that has a string through extra kind of long scale length on the bottom end, right? So that it was probably meeting up to their thing, because every manufacturer of basses and guitars has they have different feeling about what is the right taper, what is the right angle for the multi-scale. And
I can imagine it's horrible. Horrible how to make it work. Yeah. Because so like right now, like I really like the taper part is literally like it starts getting exactly big where the bridge is. So it's like one spot right now, but also this was like, I don't know, like why it works with that bass right now. It's probably like the other next ones, it's not working. I don't know.
But the Diodarios are hitting the mark right now.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's good. That's awesome.
They didn't have it before. They literally changed, like I think in a couple months ago. Like I was playing 160 before, and it wasn't tapered at all. And I remember when I was playing my Schecter before that, they had to drill a new hole to get it through. Because through the bridge, so they made the hole bigger to fit the 160 string in there. But now they finally made it tapered, so like people don't have to mess up their bridges,
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. It's either like, and then a lot of them have to taper at the other end too, so because the tuning peg hole can be too small, right? So it's not one, it's the other, or both,
I'm serious. I'm personally, if I would pick up an instrument and would choose like a tuning, I personally would never pick a tuning like that. Like it's just like I get it live with that kind of music. It's like fun, but if I would personally play, it's just like not much pleasure on having string.
It's a tuning that you feel more than you hear. It's like you feel, you're in the crowd, you hear some of it, but it's so low with such, dope strings and everything. There's like, I think that you probably feel more of those frequencies than you hear.
I mean, can you imagine how tough it was for me? Like when I had like 1 month to learn the set,
Oh man.
And it's like, I think we had 13 songs, and the thing is like, there's like, back then when I learned Metallica songs, you go online, guitar tabs, and you have like at least like orientation how to learn that stuff, And then when I had to listen to Bad Wolf songs and like some more faster stuff, then it's like on the G tuning, like you can hear really like whether it's like this note or this note or this note. And even if we all got together as a band, we still had to discuss interpretation of certain songs, like what is actually played, because in this G tuning is like something so indefinable, like what is actually happening, especially when it's fast and when it's very genty,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was like definitely like a journey for me to get like used to that tuning and to that sound.
I can imagine, man. When you're doing your own, like, do you have your own recording projects like at home? When you sit around at home with your instruments, are you writing? Are you kind of demoing stuff on your own, or do you only just work with the band?
I'm really working with the band right now. The thing is, I mean, it's not my main thing right now. Still, I always wanted to be like a musician and put my focus on this and be like a rock star or whatever. But right now, I have multiple revenue streams, and I also play along with the things that bring me the biggest benefit right now.
Sure.
And it's still that what I build on social media it's just gives me right now the biggest benefit. So I really put a lot of effort into my social media and the sponsorships that are over there. and put like the time that I have left into music. And I hope that also like this project with Tommy, I'm pretty sure, very optimistic, is getting that big, that it becomes more relevant, also financially more relevant for me, that this is like maybe more my main thing, you know.
Yeah,
but right now I can play along with like what I'm doing with the revenue streams I have, and put my resources like in the right direction right now, you know.
So what's a day like for you, on average day? Like, do you work out early in the morning and then get your rest of your day, or do you get up and do something else that pertains to your modeling career or your sponsors, and then work out later? How do you divide your time and your day up?
I try to readjust right now my things, to be honest, because I figured out I usually like to just wake up, having my coffee, and then go to the gym. And then do things after. But right now with like the sunset I know we still have like, I think sunset right like at 5, 6-ish, you know, and everything that I'm doing, like it's like a TikTok or it's like photography or stuff. It's like I need a certain amount of light, and it doesn't work that much. So right now I try to usually get some things done before, so that I have like just my minimum done, and then get my workout in, have my food later, and then that's basically it, yeah.
And are you like a one meal a day type of guy? Or are you working out so much that you can kind of eat whatever you want to some degree at this point?
So it's interesting. I mean, you know my backstory of like losing weight and everything.
Yeah.
I tried so many things, and so right now I figured I probably can never, with that lifestyle that I have, I could never be fat again. So it's like I work out every day. I work out every day, like almost like 2 hours, and I have like a pretty high, I would say, activity level, or what's it called. And what I like to do just to be more productive, but also not to be hungry all the day. What I figured out for myself, just like really having this intermittent fasting thing of like one meal a day. There's like one big meal, and then like afterwards, just snacking around for another 3 hours or something, whatever I can find. And then I usually close my eating window and start fasting again.
And do you close the eating window like fairly early in the day, or do you kind of are you like 7 or 8 p.m. or a little earlier?
So I stopped like being that specific with it. So it's really like I just make it happen like how my day works, you know. So I usually really like where my workout is, usually if my food is after, you know, and then I usually try to keep it like in maybe like 4-hour windows if I can. If not, maybe 6-hour windows. It doesn't matter that much to me anymore. I was more stricter with that. Like I had like times where I was very specific, like that's when I work out, this is when I eat, this is when I stop eating. Now I try to make it just suitable to my everyday lifestyle. That sometimes changes, you know, it's not always the same.
That's cool that so after you've done all that hard work, at this point, you're able to kind of, float a little bit, because you've been so consistent with your workouts that you can let that shift around a little bit. That's cool.
I mean, I had all those. I went through all those times with like tracking calories, with weight food, and doing all this stuff. And I think if you do this like over years and years and years, at some point you also like figure your body, and you know your signals, and you also like have a feel of like what you're eating. So even if I'm not tracking, or even if I'm not weighting stuff, I usually have in my mind, right, like this amount of protein, this amount of fat, this amount of carbs, just like intuitively. So yeah.
That's cool. That's good to know. It's probably encouraging for those that are going through the fire right now, might be tuning in and thinking, well, will there be ever a time where I can feel kind of normal and not track all this stuff to get to the goals, and so you're proof of that, like that down the road, it becomes a second nature, and you probably look at the menu and know a lot about what is okay for you without having to second guess yourself.
Yeah,
right?
and also you have to figure out like, well, what is your profession? What are you really doing? So things like, I mean, work was definitely a big part of my life, but I'm not a professional in any area. So I'm not a professional weightlifter. I'm not a bodybuilder or anything. And then also you have to ask yourself, how much sense does it make to put so much effort and so much time of your life into it, and are the results so much better if you do? If you're a competitive bodybuilder, I know it's like a different thing. So if this is your profession, if you make your money with that, you should definitely track your shit and make it like accurate, But like I post pictures on Instagram, I play music, so it's like for me, it's just like one thing to feel better, to look better, and I shouldn't put like that much of my life into it, man.
Yeah.
But also things that I also had to learn. Like, I mean, like we're all getting older to learn and try to make life better.
Yeah, so that's one thing that I guess that your story is so inspirational, and I wouldn't dare actually. I'm not actually interested in having you retrace it, because I've looked at a lot of videos and I realized you've told the story a lot, and so the story is out there to find all the details about like how you've come to where you're at. But I think about it in a sense of like you seem like such a calm, collected, and centered, like genuinely like thankful and happy person at this point. Like I'm curious about like do you feel like the transformation that you went through, do you feel like that you still have like steam, like you're still like riding the steam of that transformation, or has that become, is the base level of your kind of newfound existence in life kind of seeped in, and you've had to like constantly like seek other things to kind of find your happiness and keep moving and into like the world, like to find meaning and purpose, I guess?
I feel it's both. I feel I think when I lost like this amount of weight, when I really did like this almost 200 pounds in 1 year, I think this was just like, it just gave me like a tool in my brain, really, like to realize I can do whatever I want, and this was such a huge thing for me, because I personally never believed it before. So like, I think most young kids or like people who were like obese for such a long time, because I was a fat kid forever, and I accepted that this is who I am and this is who I'm going to be in the future. And even like I got this feedback from everyone, like everyone accepted this is who I am, and I can't change it. From my parents, from my friends, I will be always like this fat guy. And all of a sudden, like just having the belief and like the tools to know, like I can do whatever the fuck I want if I just work for it. Just gave me that tool, like constantly to know, like, okay, I can do whatever I want if I work for it, whatever it is. And I think it was just this mindset that I just learned. I was just going through life. So then from skinny, then I started being like getting tattooed, like doing my surgeries, going out and doing the music thing back then, doing my social media, I've been a tutorist back then also. I've been a social worker. So whatever I tried to really master it properly and just find my next goal that I want to have in life to be happy, And but I think what I usually like to try to say is like, well, it's a thing. I feel like people, or like if you have, it's in such a dark place in your life, like really, like for me it was, I accepted probably that I die alone, that I won't have a girlfriend or anything at some point, because I wasn't very attractive for women at all, and I didn't have many friends. So for me, it was like I was in a very dark place, accepting, okay, maybe I just stay by myself playing video games and this thing. And if you're in such a dark place and you are so down, and then all of a sudden you find yourself out there, I feel like you're not want to be average anymore, So I feel like if someone believe like, what happened if I would have never been fat, I feel like if I would have never been fat, I would have never had the willpower, like the drive to be so much more, So I feel like this coming from a very dark place gives you really like the power, like really the mindset to be bigger, So I feel like I get a lot of power, a lot of drive, because I have this past, because I know I've been there, and now I want to figure out like how far in life can I get. And it's like just step by step building on it. And I feel like I'm already like 10 steps further than I could have imagined like 10 years ago. So it's like I always try to build on top and find my next goals,
That's so cool. Yeah, I can imagine that. I mean, in life in general, right? It's like sometimes it can be hard to reconcile the negative aspects of our predicament, right? Our predicament is like, oh, I'm not tall enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not this enough, or whatever. But in the facing that situation head on, you literally transformed it. And I think that's like one of the main testaments here is like, it could be weight or it could be anything else going on in your life. But when you see somebody like yourself overcome this big adversity, and then it seems like there's an ever present like knowing of that. It's like you still, very much know, where you come from, and so that it shows up in your calm, collected, humble presence in now, like, and that's the feeling that I get, when we were hanging out down in San Diego and doing the Kiesel thing and stuff. Like I got the air of like, oh, well, he like really like obviously like super appreciates where he comes from and like what he has now. And um and I think that maybe that's one of the main things, kind of the eternal human stories in a way, is to, oh well, I experienced the darkness, and now like so that I could appreciate the light, I could appreciate these.
I think that's a very important part. This is especially what I've learned in LA, hanging out with people who are living here forever, who are born into like a very rich situation, like with everything, with all the wealth, and I'm so happy with my life, and I was always happy. Since I had my transformation. I was always happy in every state of life where I was, because I could look back and say like, hey, I'm in such a good place in life, And with every chapter, I was really like always a happy person. But here I've seen like people who literally have everything, and they always had everything, and they're not happy. They also can't figure out like what it is that makes them happy, And it's an important part that you really like. You have to be on the other side to really see how life can be, to appreciate what you have sometimes,
Yeah, so I think that's a really good kind of framework to use right there. Is living in LA for a while, I really recognized the similar thing, and I've seen it just in being in artist relations for over a decade. And some artists come from like a affluent background, and the baseline for them is way up here, so it's like it's hard for them to even imagine anything below where they come from, and that makes it difficult for them to go anywhere, because it's only the top of the top that actually get further than that, right? So anybody that comes from street level comes from hardship or difficulty and challenges in life. Man, it's like, it feels like, well, I'm already at the lowest place of my life. The only way I can go is up, and is to try to transform this. And I think that there's just a built-in kind of gratitude that tends to come with that type of thing. I know I feel it in my own way, feeling like my family was poor growing up. We weren't super poor, but like poor enough to where we didn't get most of the things that we wanted. We were just like, hey, maybe I'll save up and I'll get that for your birthday and Christmas. It's like that type of vibe. And we lived in small apartments, and to be an adult and not think about, like, I mean, growing up, we thought about money, like, oh, I don't have enough money for that type of groceries, we're going to shop at that place. But like for the last good part of my life, I've mostly just been like, I just go get the thing that I want. And I'm like, but I always remember, I'm like, I remember when I couldn't do that, man. And so there's little like appreciation that comes along with the thing. I'm curious, like, so you obviously have some of the dopest tattoos on the planet. If anybody's out there checked out your Instagram, yeah. And I'm really like, I think that it's one thing to have dope tattoos, okay, because there's a lot of great art out there. But I'm curious if you could tell us a little bit about like why you chose what you chose. Especially, I'm curious about this flower of life piece, and if does that have anything to do with your philosophy on life? Did you find it and as just beautiful art, or did you connect with it in some deeper way?
Sometimes I wish I could tell like more exciting stories about my tattoos, but I think my first tattoo was my right arm. I had a full sleeve tattoo, was my very first, and it's like just a Japanese, very traditional Japanese art piece. And I feel like if you start with like the first tattoo, most people really try to look for, to justify for themselves to get a tattoo. So you start to create some meaning to it, so it makes sense for you to have it the rest of your life in your body, to go to the tattoo studio to say like, hey, I want to do that. So for my first tattoo, I tried to put like a lot of meaning for myself into it, and but very much realized also after that it's actually not relevant to have a good piece of art, and especially like with the better tattoo artists you work, the less you can put into into the art piece, because they create usually like what's part of their portfolio, what's part of their skill set, and just leave a little room for your parts that you want to have in the tattoo, you know. So I started like to figure out very early after this tattoo that I just give room to the tattoo artists to express themselves, but give like a certain direction that I want to have, you know. And I would be honest, like except like this very first art piece that I had on my right arm, I didn't have like a lot of meaning into it. Of course, I like the spiritual aspects about the flower of life. I feel like I'm somewhere between like a spiritualist, but also like a little atheist, because like I'm a weird science guy. So I feel like I'm somewhere in between those worlds, but there's like not that much deeper meaning to it that I have like, I can tell crazy stories about my life that are connected to the tattoo, except maybe the moment that I was in, you know?
Well, I mean, just the whole reasoning for you going full body tattoo is a cool story enough, right? Like, so we know enough about you that it's kind of like when you realized, from what I can tell, it sounds like when you realized, oh, okay, I got these surgeries and now I'm here and I've already partially tatted. It's like, I'm just going to lean into this and go all the way, you know? And it's really cool that you've chosen really cool art pieces. Your back piece is great, you know, and it's just one of those things where you stand out, you know, with the sacred geometry. Like that's a really cool part. And I was hoping that it meant something to you, because and obviously that symbol and like how far it goes back and where it's found, like in all these ancient places. Whether you know much about it or not, like I think that somewhere in our DNA, like to some of these sacred symbols and say some of these sacred geometrical patterns, that whether we know it in our conscious mind or not, it seems as though some of it is like programmed into our subconscious or in like the epigenetic passed down through generations or something. Because it's like, I remember seeing that for the first time and go, wow, that looks like familiar. You know, like, and I don't even know what that is. And then I started reading about it. I was like, oh, interesting. It represents all these different aspects of creation. And it's almost like a creation myth in itself, you know, without kind of the God part.
There's a lot of that is spiritual, like has a lot of actually science and mathematics that are like as a fundament. It's like very interesting. So I love that shit, because I was like always a science guy. So when I was in school, I was the best in math. So I started first off like studying mathematics, so I was so much into that stuff. And I was always like, you know, other science. And yeah, it's weird that I ended up being a social worker. It's like it's a totally different story. But yeah, I like that aspect about spiritualism, that is also has like a fundament that is very interesting. And there's actually like some amount of mathematics and science behind it that explain things that make sense.
Yeah,
even like frequency and stuff. They're interesting. Like we just talk about energy and vibes and stuff, but you can actually measure those things, you know, and like show them in frequencies. I'm like, okay, interesting, you know.
100%. Hey, so tell me a little bit about the social worker thing. That part I'm not clear on. Like, can you elaborate on how that came about?
So the funny thing is, I actually had like something like social work. I was like in school back then, and I sucked at it. And I was like the math guy, you know. I was the best in school in math, and like the highest grade here. And but when I finished my school, it was also the time when I lost a lot of weight. So I actually finished school with the point that I had also like my new body. And that was just a very, very simple-minded thing. But okay, what should I do? And I'm good at math, so I started studying mathematics because this is what I'm good at. And everyone said like, you should do that. And I went first to university for mathematics, and I hated it because I had all of a sudden my new body and my new life, and I was thrown into something that is so dry and like showed me like the path of going to a direction where I might just maybe work for a bank or like, you know, go this thingy. And also my surrounding just didn't represent like where I want to be in life. And I made another jump to like economics to make like more practical. And I thought like there's maybe something where I bring the math in, but I was like something more that is connected to reality, you know. But it was the same shit basically. But economics in the universe is almost the same like mathematics. It's like there's like just a few little subjects that are more practical. And there was at the point, like, just for me, like, okay, maybe I shouldn't study or go to university. Maybe I should do something completely else. And but I gave it one more chance and started to apply for university for social work. And I got accepted and I tried it. And all of a sudden I was like hanging with like all those weird people, all on their journey, finding their way through life, you know, who had like dreads and like they were tattooed and stuff. And all of a sudden I feel like, hey, this is actually like more where I try to feel like I could now explore my new body, my new being, to have like a room maybe to find who I want to be in this life. So I feel like I feel like I ended up studying social work to just have the room for me to just find out what's the best version of myself, you know. And I didn't see that happening in mathematics, where it was like very, very strict and conservative. And yeah, I felt very, very comfortable between those people, and I started like getting my first piercing and like getting my long hair and like started getting tattoos, and I became more and more the person that I am today, because no one gives a fuck in social work about that. And yeah, after I finished after I had my bachelor degrees, I started actually like as an almost full-time guy to work first as a probation officer, later on Child Protective Services, and then at the end I was in a so-called integration center for immigrants. So yeah, I was very surprised that I was actually I was always working for public offices, so I wasn't working for any private companies. I was also working for the government. That they were actually pretty appreciating with how I've been, and also reflective that they never had a person who looked like that in an office, but they were. So like it's actually kind of cool, because I feel like I have like a certain aura for people to work with that makes them look professional and calm, like most people say, and they just wanted to try it, and I'm also happy to work with people.
And that was back in Germany?
Yeah.
In Cologne?
Yeah.
Interesting. That's so it's kind of interesting that your journey brought you to, you know, you kept kind of checking out different things and working with your strengths, you know, the mathematics and stuff, and then that ultimately proved to feel dry, and it led you to just to a kind of a public service of sort, where you like, oh, like, what can I be of help to people and in this way, and then that kind of also, you know, brought you into yourself.
Especially gave me what I feel like being a social worker gave me so many tools to be social. Actually, so that sounds weird, but
great.
I was a video gamer forever. So I was just playing video games and do my music thing in my room, and I had like zero social contact, and I was so awkward. I was socially so awkward. I couldn't put myself like into a group of people without behaving like weird, you know, because I wasn't really used to that. And even during studying social work, you still don't get all those tools, because it's very theoretical. And then all of a sudden I get thrown into a job, and like every day I'm sitting in front of people, and I had to deliver, you know, and be a professional. And I think doing this for 6 years, and like literally like meeting like tons of people every day and having conversations with them, helped me just to have like a certain amount of skill set to be a social person, to listen, to be strong, argumentative, and yeah, you know.
Do you feel like it increased your sense of empathy towards other people in that process?
Yeah, for sure. I think I was before already an empathetic person, but yeah, you need empathy a lot in this job. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I can imagine a lot of patience too, because I think, I mean, I'm just imagining, and I know I've known a few people that did social work, and I just like, they're even very patient people, but after they've done it for a long time, they're also like on edge, like, because they've dealt with like every character on the planet, you know, on some level, and they're just like, kind of, their bullshit detector is high, like they're like looking at people and reading body language, and I bet you really could learn a lot in that position, because the variety of people, that the characters that come through, you know, your sphere, I'd imagine, probably taught you a lot. So I noticed somewhere it said that you're also a tattoo artist yourself. Is that true?
That's an own interesting story. How it is. Yeah, I wasn't sure it is, but actually, like, it's such a weird story why I started and why I did it. So I think in 2015 I was in New York City because I just wanted to see New York City since forever, and I had like a shoot there for a tattoo documentary, and the city was just so magical for me. It was the first time for me in New York City that I figured out afterwards for me. This was the turning point for me. It's like, I have to go to America because this city inspired me to be so much bigger, and I want to go, you know? And afterwards, I literally tried for many years I figured out the legal ways how I can go to America, what I need to get a visa. And I went back to America a couple of times, different states, talked to different people, different agencies, different talent managers, and tried to get like a sponsorship for an artist visa. And I think it was like 3 years of like no success. And then I started to just think differently. How can I make it there? If I can't do it like as a social media creator, artist, whatever, maybe I have to use like other ways. And I figured out, okay, I could probably, or no, I can probably just learn something like the skills of a tattoo artist and go over as an investor visa to start my own tattoo studio, to build jobs, and go with that skill set over. So I started to learn very classic with an apprenticeship to learn tattoo art. I think it worked also like a tattoo artist like for 1 year, just to acquire that skill set, to be able to file a visa application to be like an investor over there with my tattoo studio. And
I see.
It was a totally different direction, but it made sense to me that this is something that I can do, because as a social worker, it's very hard to get hired over there. And also, like, I wouldn't even want to do what I want to do because you're not free to do any other jobs once you're bound to like one visa category, you know?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. It was just like, so, but the funny thing is, after I was working so long already, like for this kind of plan, like I actually got an inquiry from LA, like someone asking me to be part of a music video. And then I was offering like, hey, let's do this, but also like, can you maybe sponsor a visa for me? And they were talking back to the legal team, were actually like, yeah, we can work something out. And this is how I got here. So I actually got an artist visa as a social media creator afterwards. And what I wanted to be initially, but I had to go through this kind of journey till it really happened. And someone literally sent me an email with an inquiry that made me have to go to America. And now I have my green card, so now I'm like free anyway, so I can do whatever the hell I want now. But yeah.
Cool. That's really neat. That's a funny thing about life too, right? It's like we know we want to do something, and we even like put it out there, and the universe says no, and you're like, okay, well, I really still want to do it. I'm going to find a way. And you kind of found this way to game the system and be like, okay, I'll acquire a skill to do it. And then by the time you're ready to go do it, they're like, oh no, you can do it the way you originally wanted to do it. It's fine. Come on over.
Yeah. Also, like, funny thing is, I did all this stuff when I was still a social worker. I was working 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. So like, wow. I literally work as a tourist on the weekends, and it took so much. I was like really hustling a lot. I remember. There's also something when I think back, when I sometimes have like times where it's like, I'm so stressed. And I was thinking, bro, you were like working 9 to 5 there. You were doing the tattoo art thing, and you were doing your social media, you know, all at the same time. And it's also what I learned. You adapt your kind of surrounding and stress levels. So if you don't do a lot and you like chill a lot, you get stressed out by so many little things. And yeah, you just adapt. So even if I have like a 9 to 5 job and I work at the weekends, like you can accept it at some point. You adapt it. It's okay. And then you get a little bit more stressed if you get something on top, you know. And that's the reason I feel like my workload is not that high. But sometimes I feel like stressed out by little things. I feel like, bro, just do it, you know.
I feel that. Like I keep, for me, it's like I keep myself so busy so often that like, when I do let myself chill, like I'm pretty good at chilling, but like I also, I lately, because I work from home and I'm like not in an office and all this stuff, I have this feeling in the back. I'm like, oh, I could fill up the space with stuff to do. And I'm like, no, you've worked 6 days this week. You can just like not answer phone calls. You can totally not text people back for a day. It's like, fine, just go be out by the creek, man. And hang out. I mean, that's like what I've had to try to figure out how to do. And then, but then if I go through a season, like, well, if I chill too much, I have felt that vibe too, where it's easy to get stressed out about something put into your schedule. You're like, man, I wasn't going to do anything today. Now you got me doing something.
Yeah.
Do you still do tattoos at all? Can anybody book a tattoo with you, or?
Nah, I mean, I still have my equipment here. When I moved here, I brought my tattoo machine and everything, but I wouldn't even want to, because like you need practice. You need to be in the game, like very routine. And I feel like I don't even trust myself that I have like the line work that I had back then. So I was pretty solid back then, to be honest. I have a lot of tattoos and I can judge very well about tattoos. I was definitely not a phenomenal artist back then for the amount of time. I mean, I was not a phenomenal artist, but for the amount of time that I was tattooing, I've seen people who worked doing tattoos like for way longer than way worse. So my line work was actually pretty solid already.
Well, that's cool. Well, okay, I'll cross that off the list. No tattoo from Kevin Creekman. I can't do it. All right. Wah wah. No, but so I heard, and in one of your interviews, you talk about you got cast in a movie in like a series. Is that still happening? That thing with Danny Trejo, Cross Wars? Or something?
It's the thing is like I haven't heard from it for a while. So there's like this issue that seems like to get started with, like it's a feature film through Sony, and I don't know how they usually film with all the mandates that they have right now. So it seems to be still a pain in the ass. I'm definitely in the cast from the producer wise, but I also didn't hear anything back when the thing now started, because we should have started already this year.
I see.
So I don't know, to be honest. I don't know.
Yeah, no worries. Well, we'll keep an eye out for it. Hope that you to see you out there doing that. Would be interesting to see you be able to get started in that field and see where that can go for you too. I'd imagine Hollywood would pick you up and put you in some interesting places. I mean, and I see you wearing your Harley Davidson sweaty there. What's you got a bike or two out there? You go riding fairly often?
I just have one bike right now, yeah.
Okay. What do you got?
I got a Dyna, 2016 Street Cup Dyna.
Oh, cool. Do you ride often?
So the thing is, like, I got actually an accident, I think five months ago.
Oh no.
And super gnarly T-bone by like another car that is like just didn't pay attention to a stop sign. And I'm still going in a lawsuit with her because she didn't have an insurance covering the damage and everything. So it's really a pain in the ass. So my bike actually right now is still not repaired, but the funny thing is I have all my parts here. So I have like really like all the boxes over there. I have like new fairing, new exhaust, everything. And I actually want to get started to really make it happen this month. It's like everything's getting fixed again, and then I'm also going to ride more again. The thing is, I actually was riding just my motorcycle for 2 years before I had a car. So when I moved to LA, I was like putting my Ferrari to my Harley first. So I bought a Harley, put bags on the back, and then I was literally doing my groceries, all my shit just with the Harley for like 2 years. And
that's
then
pretty cool.
And then when I had my accident, then I figured out, okay, maybe I should get a car first. So I bought my car, and then don't drive that often for every little thingy, because I was literally doing everything with a motorcycle, even like all the highway shit that you usually feel like you shouldn't do, to just keep the chance a little bit lower that you get smashed by a car. And I definitely want to have my bike back. I'm going to ride again, but I also figured out for myself I shouldn't do like heavy ride with my motorcycle, because I feel like every day, literally, like almost every day, I always have like, or you have very often like one of those experiences. You feel like, oh, something could happen there because someone didn't pay attention. And
in the accident you did have, did you get hurt at all?
I had a fractured shoulder, and I lost some parts of my tattoos here, but I had like road rash here, and I was just hitting like the right side like very hard. But I was pretty lucky to just have like this fracture that I feel like is almost kind of healed, and road rash on my right arm.
I see. Wow, man, that's always been the fear, man. I love motorcycles, but my uncle who I never met, passed away a month before I was born, and my whole family was always like, No motorcycles. We don't.
My dad died in a motorcycle accident. So
Oh, did he really?
yeah. So like my mom is not very. I was like not very happy that I'm riding, and I was like with knowing this in my back of my head, and I know like okay, those accidents really happen even if you like do your shit properly, you know.
Yeah.
You figure like if I ride every day and there's a chance it's very small, you know, and I do it like for the rest of the 20, 40 years or whatever of my life, there's a likely chance that another accident happens and maybe yours hits you worse. So it's like it's in my mind, you know. People ride a lot and ride like forever. You collect a certain amount of accidents. It just happens.
Yeah.
And then just like when is the next happening and how lucky are you getting out of the situation? You know, it's just the question is not if, it's like when, you know.
Yeah, my stepdad, he had an old kind of soft tail like old Harley that he kind of pieced together and would fire up every once in a while, and I was always begging him like, take me for a ride. And so he put some like saddlebags that he put on the back and kind of like beefed it up to where there was a seat in the back, like so I could sit on this kind of padded saddlebag thing was holding over. And I mean, it's like classic, like you're saying, like you can be doing everything right and doing all your stuff, and somebody else is just unaware or doesn't care. And we had pulled up to a stop sign and was going to make a left-hand turn, and here comes this big truck turning left in front of us, and they're just not turning wide enough. And my dad start freaking out, like clicking everything and pushing the bike out of the way because he was just gonna, like, the back of his truck was just gonna like take us out, you know. And I have that distinct memory, and he was like, "See, kid, this is why we don't mess around and why you have to be hyper vigilant. Like we don't, you know." He was just like, I got the big lecture after that, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll just never ride a motorcycle, you know, like, sorry, you know, like he was like, don't be sorry, you could ride if you want, but like, you know, it's such a risky thing, sadly.
Yeah. I mean, also like how often this is why I also said highways. I usually try not to do the highways because first of all, it's not fun. I don't know. I think no one has fun like to ride like 60 miles plus on a straight fucking road with like all those cars. And then I was like, this is like the thing that happens most. It's just people pull in your lane, you know, because people are just like driving like this in like the pockets, you know, and they don't really look over their shoulders, and it happens just so often that people just go in my lanes, and then I have to honk or almost like kick the car, like, hey, bro, I'm still here, you know?
Yeah.
And if shit like that happens on like, I don't know, 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, and you have a car behind you that doesn't have like a lot of space, it's over, you know?
That's scary, dude.
This is the part that I don't like.
So were you raised with any type of like religion or like spiritual thing that as a kid, and that before you kind of formed your own, you know, personal philosophical outlook?
I mean, I was raised, I think, very traditionally Christian, like evangelic. From what I've heard, evangelic is very different in America than in Germany. This is what I kind of figured out. So I've heard like evangelic is in America way more conservative than Catholic, but in Europe, or I think evangelic is like absolutely the opposite. Catholics are way more conservative than evangelic, because technically the evangelic church, from what I've learned, is just a translation of Martin Luther. So it's like the real translation of the Bible. And that makes it just very open for people necessarily to just read the words by themselves and don't put too much structure and interpretation from the Catholic Church on top. And also like the evangelic priests in Germany are allowed to marry and have like sex and stuff, which normal priests, Catholic priests, are not allowed to. So it's like a way more, I feel like, nowadays kind of adaptable Christian lifestyle. That's what I feel like. So I feel like it was okay being part of the evangelical church and learn everything. But I feel like also as soon as I was in my teens, I figured just logically for myself that it's like just something, especially with a scientific kind of brain, that it doesn't make sense to me many things. Like, and you just have to be like right at 8 years old and I figure out, what about the dinosaurs? You know, you read the Bible. Where are the dinosaurs? When humans were built first, you know, it's like it doesn't make sense.
It makes zero sense. So and like, what informed you? I mean, I guess, you know, other than science, I guess, you know, just being a part of the science and kind of deducing, like, what kind of made you arrive where you're at now? And do you have like some sort of spiritual feeling about like life and death, like what happens post mortem?
There's this thing where my spirituality kind of sucks, I would say. So I feel like with life and death, I really feel like I'm very atheist, saying that it's over, basically. Once the spark is gone, your body's gone. I mean, of course I kind of believe in converting energy, but I believe in converting energy like very, very biological, in case of like my body is obviously energy, my dead body, and it like gets converting like basically the meals of like worms, you know what I mean? And those worms carry on the energy who get eaten by other animals, boom, boom. So your energy definitely goes on, in this sense, but it's not in the sense of that I feel like my energy goes on into another living being to be like the owner of the living being, So like I don't believe in resurrection kind of thing, but I definitely believe that my body and part of the energy is going on in other living beings that are just consuming the energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of a faceless energetic transformation versus like a personality carrying on past this form.
Yeah. So like kind of thing. And I was like, I think it's not a sad part. Also, when I talk to people and I know people like believe in another life or like heaven or whatever, I feel like it's not sad, but it's also like, like to make the best out of the time that you have, So I feel like I have the time you're on earth, and then I make the best out of it. And when it's over,
I like that. I like that outlook, because I do, as much as I respect everybody's, right to believe or kind of engage in whatever they feel is correct for them, I feel like maybe the one main things, especially in Christian, maybe it's more in Islam too, I don't know, but there's a lot of like abdication of responsibility in this life when you're really heavy in that, and you're like, okay, I'm just waiting to go home to meet my maker or whatever. You're like, well, but then aren't you wasting? Aren't you like leaving a lot on the table here? Because if this is the only life we think we are, that we know that we get, it'd be weird to be just waiting around for some other imaginary thing, Yeah,
and I also like found a lot of like in Christianity, like that people accept a lot of their fate, or like where they're going and like what kind of situation they're in, because God wants that and God sees that and stuff. But I feel like they usually lose a little bit also like the autonomy to just do things, and just change, and
Yeah, so like
it's a very passive form. It's a very passive form of living, of like believing that everything is fate of God, or everything situation you're in is because the big maker wants you to be in this situation.
Yeah, and so like if you had you applied that fatalistic view prior to your transformation, you could have just accepted, oh well, this is the way God made me, there's no change in this, I'm just going to die alone, and I don't have anything to look forward to except for my video games. Or you found a spark in yourself, and through bouncing your ideas and sorting out like what made sense for you, like you literally took hold of that autonomous ability to change the path, right, to shift the energy into a more productive, positive direction. So that's, I think it's an interesting combination of both. Personally, I think there's a certain amount of stuff that there's a certain trajectory or path that we're most likely destined towards, as long as we continue to rise to the challenge, so to speak. That's what kind of feels like a little bit of both. I don't know that we're fully free to choose everything, even though it feels like we're free to choose everything. And I'm not sure that we're really destined to have to go a particular way despite that, that's my general feeling. But because I think it's good. It feels good to like have choice. And I do kind of, and I was raised Christian myself. So I there's a certain amount of like fatalistic kind of thing that is embedded in me, I think, even though I still like mostly kind of adhere to an Eastern set of wisdom, which is more faceless creation and destruction. You know, it's not like a big god in the sky, a white guy with a beard in the sky that is pointing his finger at people. It's kind of this more automatic universal system that just that kind of grinds us all into a pulp at some point. But in the process, there's these moments of light and living that spring out of the misery and the mud of life. That's kind of my view in a way.
Yeah, I figure I just at this point as a kid, just getting all this multiple views of like life and like culture. I feel like just realizing that the Bible is actually written like in a country like Israel, and then this culture defines actually like what Western civilization should be or is doing, and then you have like Islam that has a totally different kind of view. Then you have like the Asian culture that has like a different kind of God and everything, and it's just like just a rational question, like how much this really makes sense to be like the universal view of your faith, you know?
Yeah. Well, I would like to ask you a couple more questions, mostly around music. I'd like to know a little bit about like I've seen you you sport Pantera and down shirts pretty often, so I know that's got to be one of your faves. But I'm curious, like, what are you listening to lately? And is there any bands or albums that have come out recently that you're just like super stoked on and maybe we should check out?
If I go by recently, I think like the rock metal communities really sucked recently. I feel like there hasn't been anything like that is like kind of monumental, you know? There's like one band, even like as like a super. So like I was growing up as like a very fucking true metalhead, so I was like always shitting on every band that is like not true. So I was going through this kind of phase a lot, and especially with black metal and everything. I was like very bad true metalhead guy. But like with growing up like in the later 20s and everything, I just paid more attention to just listen what people put in their music and just put aside like how much metal it is or how hard it is and stuff. And like there's just like, I mean, it might be like one band that we all, I think as a rock artist or metalheads have to appreciate. It's just Bring Me the Horizon, for example.
Great band.
Because they, where they come from and where they are now, and like with every instance they have with every album, that just adapted like really like what's relevant right now, and put these influences into their music and really perfectionized it to make it like their own sound. It always sounded like Bring Me the Horizon in a totally different kind of new setup, and their music was always excellent. So I paid actually later more attention to it. So because I hated them so much before, it was weird because I remember I was at the Machine Head concert back in Germany, and like I don't know, I was probably like in my mid-20s, and Bring Me the Horizon was opener, and like everyone was booing them, and I was like, they suck, they're not metal, you know. and it was their Samp Eternal tour, and like nowadays I would say Samp Eternal is one of the best albums ever written. Because it's so solid. So it's like there was like some change in my mind. I was like really stop paying attention to all those stigmas in this metal community that is like just they depict themselves. Like the metal community has like I love metal music, but at the same time the community is like not very welcoming, not very open for anything, you know. And I'm happy like maybe to have for myself made the change by like just paying more attention, give chance to like bands like Bring Me the Horizon that I now would say are like definitely one of the best examples how to carry like heavy music through so many years into such a. They're now an arena band, and they made it like in the last, I don't know how long they're out there. Already 20 years? I don't even sure.
It's been at least 10. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. So,
did you have a chance to check out? Are you a fan of Howard Jones? Did you check out that new project you did, Scion? It's an ex-Kill Switch Engage singer, Howard Jones.
Yeah,
he did it with Jared Dines. I don't know. I would imagine that it might be you might dig it because if you're a Kill Switch fan at all, I am, and you know that kind of early to mid, like the second and third albums and stuff at Kill Switch was just so good, and that came out just a month or so ago. That's been one of the first things that That one and the new Cynic. I'm a big fan of Paul Masvidal and Cynic and that kind of robotic prog stuff, which was pretty cool.
To be honest, I get probably hated for those things, but I love actually everything that is out there that has like right now commercial success, because I see the formula, you know, like Bring Me the Horizon now, like doing this more, a lot of electronic, but a little also like the punky stuff with a little Post Maloney tone. The new stuff is like super smart. And also someone, now it's getting probably like Machine Gun Kelly. I feel like he did a good formula to bring literally like, I mean, it's not rock music like as hard as we're saying, but to bring a formula back that has a certain kind of Blink-182 vibe with like a little bit of trap or whatever, and bring it on such a level that he's right around the most successful artist on Spotify right now, you know?
Wow.
And I think I sometimes miss a little bit like that right now, that metal music or those artists like reinvent themselves to bring something that's really like a blast, you know? And I feel right now, especially with those artists like getting more and more rock and roll, I think there is a certain potential right now that we maybe can bring back the crossover era like from 2000, you know? So I kind of hope that more and more artists like become like a more punk, more rock and roll, mix it up maybe like with hip hop elements, and maybe we can have those artists like back like when Korn and System of a Down all of a sudden like leading the charts, you know? I think there's some room and some potential right now happening, and I hope we have maybe like a little comeback of that. I was like, I'm with Tommy. I think I sent you like one song where it was just like a play along of like a kind of, you heard the song, a crossover version like with a rapper.
Yeah.
So I'm excited like to see like how these drops are going to be, because it is like a lot of the Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park vibe that we had back then. And whether it finds like commercial attention, you know.
I mean, Limp Bizkit, I can't believe it's like back in. I mean, they've come back and with a lot of people being very excited about it, you know. Which, I mean, on one hand, I respect what they're up to, but I never gave them like any actual love. I was just like, oh man, you know, like it felt like corny back in the day, but that era, you know, every era gets its time to come back, I think. And like you stating those bands, you know, the System of a Down and Korn and stuff like that. That was the early era. The first couple of albums of all those bands were really, really, really cool, especially in retrospect. We're looking back, like from where we're at now, you know, and feeling like, oh man, there's a certain nostalgia to.
I mean, it was fucking great. Like all of a sudden, like being like an outsider, like a bully kid was kind of the shit. It was cool again, you know. This was like the kind of vibe that we had, like with all Papa Roach and stuff.
Totally. And Tommy's got that thing, especially now with Lone Wolf, you know, like he's kind of outsider, right? Like I
didn't want to get political here, but I think it's a big potential people miss out in rock music. This is also like, I think rock music became so adaptive and so obeying to like everything that is out there that maybe, I know there's definitely like there's, you get canceled for certain things and there is a certain danger, but at the same time it's what rock music is, and there's like a big potential. I mean like every big rock band back then, there was a rebellious thought behind it, you know, like I mean they did all crazy shit. Like when Ozzy did a lot of crazy shit, Marilyn Manson did a lot of crazy shit, but also like this element put like a lot of rebellious kind of thought into it that makes like rock music like real. And I feel like it's missing a lot right now, that rock music has like some real message to change the world or anything, to really have also like the impact that we might want to have. And with like Aaron Lewis and other artists like speaking up for being like pro-America and being very successful, I think there's a lot of potential of people missing out to maybe do the risk to say something that society maybe doesn't want to hear, or the media doesn't want to hear, but people actually can identify with because no one speaks their language, you know? And so with like what we are groping, I feel like there's a big potential, in my opinion, that this could be like a really big breakthrough, because it's like a voice of like people who are not allowed to speak up, you know?
I think that's great. I think you're correct on that too. I think that there's we're in a place despite what you believe about vaccines and the current state of everything, like I know it's very clear where Tommy stands and where he's at, and I can appreciate that because I think that it's important to not be censoring all these ideas and the questioning of the narrative, right? I think we should always be allowed to question the narrative and come to our own conclusions when it's just flat out censorship after censorship after censorship.
And especially rock music. It's weird. We're doing rock music. We're doing rock metal music. I feel like this is like the space where it should be room for people to say what the fuck they want, to be rebellious against society. This is how it always has been. It's
supposed to be dangerous.
And maybe this is also maybe the spark that I'm missing right now in rock music because it's not happening that there is actually some real message behind it, some real movement. And that was also very interesting. I'll go back to Bring Me Rising again, but actually Parasite Eve was like one of those songs. I'm not sure if you heard that one.
Mm-hmm.
It was like one of the only bands who put something out there that was critical about COVID and the vaccine. And I feel like it was like a very strong statement, actually. Even they made it very cryptic. They made it like very literally out there, but their song is definitely like a huge statement.
So you actually you're poking at a thing that I think has been really kind of, I mean, it's comedy, but it sucks, but it's comedic to me that because like a lot of our favorite rock and roll and metal, like you said, has come through. Our favorite stuff has usually been some aspect rebellious and dangerous, right? And there's a certain level of unpredictability around, like, usually the singer, like you got a Phil Anselmo, right? Like, that comes on stage. Back in the day, I saw that band like 6 times, dude. It was like my favorite band, all, nonstop Pantera. But you come out and there was always some air of like danger or, either in the crowd of kind of like moshing and being this. Well, but when a band would come out and have, like you said, something to say, and it was acceptable, which is an interesting thing to, like, I mean, not always, but they were always kind of railing against something, right? So, but now we're in a place where it's either conform or get canceled, right? Like, if you don't have the right things to say, then cancellation is coming for you one way or another. And it's not that that I don't think that anybody, that we shouldn't be responsible for what we say or what we're into. I think we should be responsible. We should stand up for what it is that we believe. But it's funny to see so many metalheads and rock guys that were like, oh, I'm rebellious. I got all the rebellious tattoos. Yeah. And then they're like some of the first people to say, hey, everybody, conform. Hey, no, don't speak too loud about that. And it's like, wait, who are you saying what? Like, are you? Wait.
Yeah,
that's weird.
That's what I mean. That's like the hypocrisy, like, in the industry right now. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I will say that it's gonna be guys like Tommy and people that are influenced by him and influenced by people that are out there seeking the truth, because there is truth in some truth. There's specks of truth throughout mainstream media. There always has been, but it's always been buried in a mountain of propaganda and lies. And now we're here at a place where it's like really important because it's dividing us. And I feel like it's a purposeful division, right? It's like not like on accident. They're not accidentally trying to turn us against each other. That's on purpose, that's for real.
And it's also like it's not a minority or anything. Like, it's really like we really talk about what's how I feel like we talk about a silent majority that is like not able there to have like a voice right now. And I've been in the last 6 weeks. I've been almost in every state, maybe except like Alaska and Hawaii, and I've seen people and how people are living. And there is this big media focus on California and New York, Mm-hmm. And we're going like doing like those cycles over and over again from the same things, like soon the 3rd year. And I feel like almost everyone else doesn't give a fuck anymore. And those people will definitely support people who like speak their language,
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see where things move for you and the band, and it's going to be exciting to see the covers drop, and as you guys sort out the record label and all that, and excited to see and hear about how the sound and shapes up for Lone Wolf. That's super cool. Man, I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out and chat with me.
Bye.
You're an inspiration to many, man, and including myself. So, yeah, I hope you have a really great day, and let's be in touch.
Yeah, have a good one. Thank you so much.
Take care, Kevin.
Players Pick Podcast, Picks and Perspective with Chrys Johnson. Pool table.
Players Pick Podcast is brought to you in part by our good friends at Dunlop Guitar Products, Kiesel Custom Guitars, and our favorite new coffee company, Road Roaster Coffee. Use coupon code PLAYERSPICK for 20% off your first order at roadroastercoffee.com.